Brad Lander's story begins far from the hustle of Manhattan in St. Louis, Missouri, where he was born in 1969. Raised in a household that valued public service and community involvement, Lander was encouraged from an early age to think about how societies work and how people can shape them for the better. These formative influences planted a seed that would later grow into a career dedicated to affordable housing, environmental justice, and fiscal accountability. In the early 1990s, after earning a bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago and later a master's in urban planning from Pratt Institute, Lander took a decisive step into frontline community work. From 1993 to 2003, he served as executive director of the Fifth Avenue Committee in Brooklyn, an organization focused on affordable housing and neighborhood revitalization. At FAC, he led the creation of new homes for low and moderate income families and promoted community development projects. His leadership helped FAC earn the prestigious 2002 Leadership for a Changing World Award, and his individual contributions were honored with a coveted 2000 New York Magazine Civics Award. In 2003, Lander became director of the Pratt Center for Community Development, based at Pratt Institute. There he sharpened his focus on equitable urban policy, influencing the city's approach to rezoning, affordable housing, and environmental standards. His work included drafting the first inclusionary housing plan for neighborhoods outside Manhattan and serving on task forces to reform the 421A luxury housing tax subsidy. Lander's teams also took a hard stance on the Atlantic Yards project, raising questions about public benefit and accountability when neighborhoods were redeveloped. Transitioning to public office in 2009, Lander won a seat on the New York City Council, representing Brooklyn's 39th district. During his 3 terms from 2010 to 2021, Lander co-founded the council's Progressive Caucus and championed groundbreaking legislation: fair workweek rules for service and gig workers, protections for freelance artists, bans on single-use foam and plastic bags, more cooling systems in schools, and major affordable housing initiatives in Gowanus and beyond. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, he called for the city to suspend low-level arrests and even rehouse thousands of homeless New Yorkers in vacant hotels, ideas that were controversial but profoundly human-centered. In November 2021, Brad Lander was elected New York City Comptroller with nearly 70% of the vote, becoming the city's chief financial watchdog and custodian of its 5 public pension funds. Under his leadership, the Comptroller's office expanded sustainable investing practices and committed pensions to net zero carbon emissions by 2040, one of the most ambitious climate pledges among major U.S. cities. His audits revealed hundreds of millions in overlooked ferry spending, weak COVID procurement controls, and improper homeless sweeps. He also spearheaded a data transparency portal tracking homelessness, correctional oversight, city budgeting, and environmental performance. Bold and politically ambitious, Lander announced his challenge to incumbent Mayor Eric Adams in July 2024. His campaign centered on expanding affordable housing, protecting immigrant communities, climate action, and government accountability. In early 2025, he and Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani formed a progressive alliance, cross-endorsing each other and reinforcing shared goals in a crowded Democratic field headlined by Andrew Cuomo and others. Then came June 17, 2025, a pivotal day. Lander visited Federal Plaza in Lower Manhattan as part of a campaign to support immigrants attending proceedings. He accompanied an individual exiting immigration court when masked ICE agents moved in. Lander linked arms to protect the person and demanded to see a judicial warrant, stating firmly, "You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant." As agents forcibly hustled the person away, they also arrested Lander. He was let off in handcuffs amid a hallway jam, shouting, "I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway." The dramatic scene, captured on video and widely circulated, led to his detention for several hours. Press later reported that the charges involving assaulting a federal officer and impeding a proceeding were dropped. Governor Kathy Hochul, Council Member Adrian Adams, former Mayor S.L. Stringer, and grassroots activists rallied to his side. The incident also echoed recent standoffs involving Newark's Mayor Ras Baraka and Senator Alex Padilla, spotlighting ICE's growing prosecutorial presence at courthouses. In the aftermath, Lander vowed to defend the city's immigrant families and demanded the public ensure courthouse safe zones remain protected. He emphasized that his intervention was not partisan posturing, but a moral duty to stand up for the powerless. For many New Yorkers, that moment defined Lander, a man willing to risk personal freedom to protect a stranger's dignity. Yet his actions also introduced complex questions. How would federal authorities respond? Could this boost or damage his repeated polling around 8%? And would his boldness help a campaign that so far relied on policy depth rather than emotional appeal? Despite trajectory uncertainty, along more traditional campaign lines, Lander has rolled out plans for a public bank for small businesses, climate-resilient infrastructure, enforcement of workers' rights, expanding migrants' legal support, and improving school funding and zoning processes. He's distilled a message. He knows how to build consensus through data, accountability, and moral clarity. At his side stands a strong team, his wife Meg Barnett, their 2 children, and a campaign staff balancing wonky expertise with community outreach. His prior work on public finance gives him credibility and makes his voice at rallies and debates more than ideological. He can back his positions with financial forecasting and audit-backed evidence. Yet Lander's national profile has also drawn McLaughlin of DHS's criticism, painting his arrest as dangerous theatrics. Still, prominent New Yorkers, including Hochul, immediately framed it as inappropriate federal intimidation and praised Lander's defense of democratic values, a show of unity that bolsters his image as a protector of civic integrity. Lander's story, rooted in community building, scholarly rigor, and real-world adaptability, is rare in high-stakes mayoral races. A Princeton Review-worthy urban planner, not a lifelong politician, he left university to address housing and climate on the ground. In the city council, he walked the borough's streets and navigated legislative trenches. In the comptroller's office, he balanced spreadsheets and launched major audits. And now, as a mayoral candidate, he stands caught between ballot-worthy policy and the high-stakes drama of immigration and national power clashes. Summing up Brad Lander means balancing the wonk with the warrior, the planner with the protester. He's funded libraries and ferries, audited contracting, rejected no-bid awards to Elon Musk, and confronted ICE agents in a courthouse hallway. Viewed broadly, his path illustrates a new kind of political figure, one grounded in expertise, attuned to ethical urgency, and shaped by both endurance and courage. The future chapters remain unwritten. With June 24th approaching, voters will weigh substance against spectacle, progressive expertise against incumbent charisma. Lander's timing was tricky, but his actions have drawn ancient lines of debate about civic duty, immigrant protections, and federal power over local governance. Whatever the outcome, Brad Lander's decision to intervene and submit himself to arrest will echo as part of his legacy. It is a moment in which policy met protest, finance met freedom, and political ambition met personal conviction. Even as the campaign builds, Lander has already defined a mayoral archetype, the comptroller who escorting immigrants, who audits homelessness sweeps, who speaks up in courtrooms, and who knows that governance isn't just spreadsheets, it's sacrifice. He made that choice not as a candidate seeking headlines, but as a citizen upholding democracy. And in that choice, he shows what leadership means in a time of fracture, courage, clarity, and willingness to face arrest for what's right. As the votes are counted, Brad Lander will remain a living question. Can careful policy and moral boldness combine to lead the city? Can someone with deep wonk credentials win hearts simply by being present in hard places? This story isn't just about ballots. It's about whether New York's next chapter belongs to the policy analyst turned activist who dared to be there on the front lines, unafraid to be handcuffed in defense of human dignity.